Hi, I'm biggest hip hop fan. I want to know who would you say has been the biggest influence in hip hop culture?
Yeah, that is a great question. It would be hard for me to say who as one individual. You know, it really depends on what area of hip hop are we, speaking of. There are those that has stood out when it comes to political issues.
Okay.
There are those that when it comes to, comedic or entertaining and so on. You've had the James Brown of hip hop, which was Hammer. And that was absolute entertainment as far as his stage performances. And I would say that helped artists to step their game up as far as their shows goes. You have those that didn't have all the lights and all the gimmicks and so on, that Hammer had, individuals in the early days like Run DMC.
Oh, yes.
And it was just the three of them on stage. Sure.
But you know what though? And I'm sure Wizzard THeodore can attest to this. But hip hop culture, they say that the Holy Trinity was Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash, and Africa Bambaataa.
Yeah. Sure.
And those were the three main hip hop.
That set off the culture.
Yeah, set up the culture of hip-hop.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
of course, Wizzard THeodore inventing the scratch at the time because they were DJing, and Grandmaster Flash had just started doing the cuts
like that.
from back and forth to record.
Backspins and all that.
And he brought in a technique that is still used today that people mimic through whatever they do in their music and through their mouths and everything as well.
So it's hard to say one person. There's so many different people in the whole industry.
Because you got you got
their own.
KRS-One that allow people to not only understand themselves but understand everything that's going on around them.
Sure.
Then you got Public Enemy that make everybody conscious about what's going on, no matter what color you are, and then you have the biggies that's telling people stories about what's going on in the streets and stuff like that. So it's so many different stages,
And even with that, Slick Rick was known as the cat. Well, you for that matter as well, telling the stories.
It's also the four elements. The graffiti was out there first, and then the DJ came out there, and
that
the
is
cowboy,
correct, because the question was the culture.
Yeah,
and
culture.
So there are those.
Hollywood and them doing the 1-2-1-2s, and that's where and Love Bug saying the hip, the hop, and that's where the name hip hop came from.
Okay.
So I don't think we can pinpoint one person like
Absolutely.
you said.
But what would you say about hip hop as it relates to fashion, hip hop fashion and style? Who could you say?
That's one of the unsung elements of hip hop. That's the fifth element to me. I know Africa Bambaataa says the fifth element is knowledge, but I like to think it's fashion because fashion has always been a part of hip hop from day one. Where after graffiti, DJing, b-boying, and MCing, it was always about the fashion, what you look like and how you carry yourself.
Right, and there were certain pieces that I would say were very fashionable. Adidas sneakers, Kangol headwear,
Chains,
the chains, absolutely, the gold chain,
the Quarterfield coats and stuff like that. So
there was a lot of things that, and a lot of them are actually coming back, which is incredible to watch. See the whole thing come around, as Dana says, full circle.
Yeah, it's weird because like every time I travel, like when I go to like London, I'm sure you guys can attest to this. So we go to London and Japan and stuff like that. It's like going back to the '80s because like all these people overseas are wearing like Kangols and Adidas and
embracing the
sweatsuits. It's like you go back in time, and it's like it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Good, very good, interesting. Thank you, and now let's move on to the second question. Grand Wizzard THeodore, would you do the honors for that?
Sure, I know it's a long name, but it's my mother's fault.